about time Star Wars might have maybe took itself a little bit more seriously.
Yeah, it's like HBO level Star Wars show. You know what I'm saying? Like, essentially,
100%.
you know,
100%.
I mean, it has all of the I'm surprised by some of the elements that they're adding in, like the romantic, sexual elements to the show now. You know what I mean, and all that. They didn't really have that in season 1, you know, but it's there now. You know what I mean? So it's subtle, it's small stuff. You know that they're kind of adding in. You know, but they've definitely done some stuff to where like season 2 is different than season 1, you know, so far.
100%.
So this is going to be probably be our smallest show for Andor, probably our smallest guest panel for Andor recaps. Everybody that was supposed to come on tonight didn't come on. Andrew's not here. Rathacon dropped off, said he'll be here mid-show. And Jedi Talk podcast guys didn't show up. They bailed too pre-show. So, folks, a small show on the MCU'S Bleeding Edge YouTube channel and podcast. Just myself, Jeff S., a.k.a. TrueKnowledge, co-host, original co-host of the MCU'S Bleeding Edge, 4+ years strong, with co-host Cyberneticshark, veteran content creator, good green screen, and happy to see you, sir. Matthew from Board to Watch, once again, guested with us on the guest panel for probably like his 5th time, since like 2022 or 2023 when you first came on. So a lot of guest appearances, Matthew.
Yeah, thoroughly enjoy every time I'm on. It started with the three of us. Well, no, it started with me and you, Jeff, you tried to con me in with your music stuff. And then finally I earned my straps to come in and talk movies and TV shit with you.
I think our first show was just me, you, and Cyber. I
think it was. One of the first movies we did was Bloodsport.
Yeah, I think it was Bloodsport. I think Andres was off that night.
Yeah.
Andres, the pop culture guy, is off tonight. What a shock. He's busy, fighting the chicks off, as usual. So we're here to talk about Andor, episode 6, season 2. Looking forward to it. You're looking forward to hear what your take is on this, Cyber. Coming off of the Last of Us finale, which, I know you weren't too thrilled about. So hopefully Andor this week, brought it or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So you can bring it on the panel tonight, you know how those things correlate. So anyways, gentlemen, Matthew, since it's your first time, I don't want to repeat, this question with you, Cyber. You can, kind of, mold the question as you will. But Matthew, since it's your first time doing Andor with us this season,
I've done one episode. I did episode.
Did you do an episode of season 2 already?
Yeah, I think I did episode 2 or episode 3. I think.
Did you? All right. Well, I completely forgot. So
I'm unmemorable.
I know you've already seen the whole season, but let me ask, where were you at kind of with episode 6? What are your thoughts on the show, episode 6 wise? Any thoughts on season 1?
Andor, we were just talking a little bit off air, but it's very layered. There's a lot of information in every episode. I think the thing I like about episode 6 is we're starting to see some real action from the rebellion, and I think that's really good. I think that the Gorman part is finally starting to take some form. We're seeing Bix. I really like the Bix and Cassian dynamic. I think that's really good. Throw in a few Star Wars lesbians and a pretty good leso scene, and it's a pretty good episode. It's definitely a different feel at season 2 to season 1. It's a lot darker. And that's quite literal. A lot of the stuff happens at night. A lot of the stuff happens in the dark. It's almost saying that a lot of the stuff we're doing is in the darkness with the rebellion. I've really liked Luthen. I think his character this season is so dark, and you don't know how far he's willing to go, and that only becomes more apparent the further you go on. Don't want to say anything more about that, but in this episode, and in last episode where he does the sneaky little visit to Bix, I think that you're really starting to question, how far Luthen's really going to go to the end, to get to that end. Good. I think this is a pretty good episode. Good action. Yeah, good. Enjoying it a lot.
Okay. Thank you for not being super spoilers on on the rest of season 2. Cyber, what are your thoughts on episode 6, sir?
This episode was actually my least favorite of the series so far. It kind of was a down for me, which is too bad. And I was expecting a lot better out of it. And definitely towards the end of the episode, it redeemed it better. And I just really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it better after that a particular thing happened at the end of the episode. I just really thought that it could have been better. I thought that it could have had more to it. And I just felt like it was a little too centered on a particular item in this episode that I just didn't care for. I don't think it added anything to the episode. So, unfortunately, that was a downside for this episode, and kind of why it makes it my least favorite of the episodes.
What is that, sir? Like the heist arc or whatever in the episode you didn't like, or something like that?
Are you talking about the lesbians?
Hello. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I found. Do you know what's really interesting? I think Andor season 2 is really leaning into the relationship side of it and the toll that it takes. The rebellion is taking on the relationships. Cassian and Bix is a good example, but you've also then got, Vel and Cinta, their relationship. And I sort of, whilst I'll never knock back a good sort of girl on girl scene, Jeff, and we were just talking about that about you in your bedroom, but I think that I don't mind that scene because it's showing what's at stake. Like it's showing that they're in love, they love each other, and I think that whilst we don't like, we don't like our Star Wars with a side dish of lesbianism, I think it works within the confines of this series because it's about the human element. It's about the sacrifice that these people are making.
Yeah,
and I think that. And I really think that that's what this season does so well is it's about those relationships and those sacrifices because whereas season 1 was really focused around Cassian, like really focused around him and his plight. Whereas this is now the broader spectrum and it's more than just one person. And so I sort of, whilst, you don't need it. I don't think it didn't wreck it for me. It wasn't the Acolyte. Let's say that.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad as the Last of Us lesbian shit. Last of Us, you know what I'm saying? Like, like that was kind of cringy, frankly, you know what I'm saying? Like I was like put off by the Bella Ramsey girl on girl Last of Us stuff.
Is that because you may not find Bella Ramsey particularly attractive?
Something like that, yeah. I mean, she's just weird. She's kind of weird, man. Like she's kind of weird looking, and like and I don't like her portrayal of Ellie very much in season 2 of Last of Us. You know what I'm saying? I felt like the show was a real drop off. I don't want to get too far off this, but like off Andor. But I mean, I definitely think that like Last of Us season 1 was like a really good TV show. You know what I'm saying? And like season 2 was a big drop off. You know what I'm saying? Like big time drop off. So
just on that, do you think it is because they have effectively cut the season in half and they're trying to really stretch out what really effectively should be a two series TV series? It's 2 games, 2 series. Just do it that way. But they're now trying to stretch it out. Seven episodes is not big enough. It's not long enough for that season. They could play that whole arc out in one season.
Cyber, if you want to say anything about this, go ahead.
So I just kind of want to reiterate, it definitely wasn't as bad as the Acolyte. I agree with Matthew on that, most definitely. But at the same time, I just felt like it put me off enough because they had to have them kissing. Like, I don't need that in my Star Wars. I didn't need that love story. I don't feel it added to the story. Now, if it added actually to the story and like was something that was, derived from the original story, which this is supposed to be from the prequel films, from the original films, I would understand that. But there is no sign or cause of that in the previous 3 original films, New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. So this whole having to interject that, I felt there was no need for it, and they could have gotten the whole episode off. And that's what I was loving about the Andor so far, is the first 5 episodes were perfect. There was nothing that was showing any type of, push towards this. And then all of a sudden this episode, they decide, let's put that in there. So it was kind of disappointing that they decided that they needed this in there when they really didn't, and it didn't further the story at all. Why can't you just have them be 2 best friends? Why did they have to be lesbian lovers? It just did not make sense to me. And so that's why, it put the episode off for me.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. Like, I didn't really care personally, just because I was kind of like, whatever about it. I'm like, oh, this is just Andor. You know what I mean? Kind of like what Matthew said, I was like, oh, well, this is Andor, how Andor is, kind of. I wasn't that shocked by it. I knew that there were like Cinta. I knew Cinta and what's her name had a thing. Like I knew that. You know what I mean, from season 1. So like that all made sense to me. You know what I'm saying? Like them getting it on. Was kind of whatever to me. But again, that's just my opinion. I don't know, Matthew. Again, part of it is partially has to do with how the chick looks, I guess. But with Bella Ramsey, it has to do with the fact that she's like become the main like character on the show. It has all the responsibility now of carrying that whole show. And at that point, it just like for some reason seeing her her makeout scenes and all that shit in Last of Us were just like really forced to me. Like they just seem really forced. But then again, HBO does that, in their shows. They force a lot of like nudity and like, sexual type, like that type shit. That's HBO. Anyway, so all right. Andor episode 6, and these Wikipedia like blurbs are really short. I'm gonna have to fill in a little bit on this. So it says Cassian insists that Gorman's rebels are unprepared and argues with Luthen upon learning that behind his back, he's attempted to persuade Bix to return to action. Luthen chastises him for his short-sighted vision and instead sends Vel and Cinta to help the rebels pull off the heist. Hey,
yeah,
Andrew.
Sorry. So, my bad, Jeff. My bad. I was running late. My bad.
All right, man. That's cool. So anyways, what you missed out on, Andrew, was I was just explaining how the introduction of episode 6 of Andor starts. Basically with Luthen picking up Cassian with his ship and everything, and we get to see him like fly in hyperspace and all that shit, which I thought was really dope. I thought that like Tony Gilroy's done a really great job with all the like the space stuff in Andor so far. Personally, I thought that they've done a really good job. I've liked his take on like doing space and doing like like showing ships and all that. It's looked very really kind of different than usual. And I like there's a really good dialogue with Luthen and Cassian. I thought that was really valuable. For the episode and for the progression of the show. We visited him with Mom Mothma right off the bat, with her husband. Something that's, I personally love those scenes with her and her husband talking and stuff like that, and kind of like peeking in on their marriage. I find that very interesting. We go to like Luthen's shop and what's her name? That one chick, is there, the assistant. And Clea. She kind of, Clea, thank you. She's there and, working like the message board and everything, like talking to Luthen and everything, right? Like all secret agent and shit. And, they're prepared to go to like this big party that's really super important because they have that, listening device or whatever there, right? Essentially, we do get Luthen sending, Vel and Cinta to help the rebels, sending them off to pull off the heist. and Cassie gets all pissed off, right, because of Luthen, like, checking in on Bix and, like, trying to get Bix, like, back in action, right? So that's what we were about to talk about, Andrew. Since you just came in, sir, do you want to go ahead and start?
Sure, I guess if you like, it's up to you.
Please.
Okay. So we find out this whole time that Clea over on her little switchboard operation, she planted a listening device in Skolden. I believe that's his name, the father-in-law or the in-laws for Mothma. In his art collection. And now he's worried because he found one fake piece. Now they have to revise the entire gallery to see if there's any other fake pieces. And she's panicking because if they find the listening device, it can be traced back to them. And Luthen, I guess, this whole time he was kind of out of the picture, or at least he didn't really know that she had gone off to do this thing on her own. And so now it's kind of going to bite them in the ass, right? So now they have to figure out how to get in there, how to infiltrate. Luckily, there's this party, right? They're throwing I believe it's called like Investiture Week or something, where all the freshman class of senators are throwing off these big parties, right? And Skolden is hosting one, and that's gonna be their opening there to get in there and hopefully remove the device. And I don't want to jump too far ahead, but it's a really, really good scene later on when we get to that point. But yeah, it's pretty much the crux of what's going on in this opening part with Luthen and Clea.
Andrew, what were your thoughts on the whole introductory part of the episode, sir? You remember how this works? Come on now.
I'm sorry. I like jumping in. I'm a little
the whole intro, all of it, Luthen pick, you can pick and choose from what you want, whatever I just covered right there a minute ago. From Luthen picking up Cassian. Was there anything else that you wanted to add?
Okay, well, yeah. We have Cassian's informing him that these guys about the Gorman Liberation Front, they're not really up to the task. There's no military experience. It's a very posh planet, right? It's basically Space France, right? Space France. These French revolutionaries stand-ins. They're basically they're kind of out of their depth. Cassian kind of picks up on that, and he's saying these guys are not ready. If you try to do something here, you're gonna basically send them to the slaughter. And Luthen's good. That's kind of what I want, right? He wants to radicalize. For him, it's another open front for the war, for this the cause, he calls it, right? And I think this is the first. I don't know if you pay attention, but this is the first time when he talks about the cause. And if you read with subtitles, like I usually do, it's capitalized. So that's the official thing is the cause. It's all capitalized. I thought that was kind of interesting. But Cassian's he's not ready to send these people to the slaughter. Luthen's hey man, whatever it takes. We know Luthen's he's a what's the term I'm looking for? Not a catalyst. He's a accelerant, right? He wants to make things so bad that it's going to draw other people into the rebellion. So Cassian's I'm not down to do that. And then is it this part where Cassian finds out that Luthen was trying to recruit Clea, and then he gets pissed off that Luthen didn't mention that to him?
No, it's Bix.
Bix, I'm sorry. I'm not Clea, Bix. You're right. I'm sorry. I'm getting my women mixed up. Is this the part where he later on or around here is right when Bix tells him that Luthen came by, and then Cassian gets really pissed off because he knows that Bix is not in the right headspace right now, and she's in no state to go out and start doing work right now.
Yeah, most definitely. No, that's I wanted you to talk about all that whole up until up to that point essentially. All right, Andrew. Cyber, if you understood what I was talking about, sir, I have at it.
All right. So basically, this section of the episode is pretty decent. It starts off really good. We have some interesting interactions going on between people. And I think that, we definitely get kind of a thought process here, kind of at this point of kind of where the show is going. Now that we're at episode 6, which is the, second arc of 3 episodes, this is kind of the end of that arc, and we're going to be jumping again. So they were trying to kind of push and get done with what was going on. So I think that this beginning is a really good start to that. Showing Coruscant more and stuff like that was really fun. Luthen popping up and having that conversation with Cassian was really interesting. And I like how Cassian really tries to try to seem like he's one-upping Luthen, but you could tell that no, Luthen is always one ahead of whatever Cassian's thinking. And, being at the level that Cassian's at, he's kind of lost because he's not fully in the fray. And we see that conversation between Luthen and him kind of being like that, even kind of with that conversation between him and Bix, you could definitely see that he's like, why the hell did he talk to you? Like, he should be only talking to me kind of deal, and I think that, you could definitely see that he feels like he doesn't have control. And you could see that in that conversation there. And I thought that was a really great exchange, both of those conversations. I think that, showing more of Coruscant this season so far has been really fantastic. I love going to Coruscant. I've always been fascinated by Coruscant, even, in the prequel films when we got to go there. And I think seeing the Empire, once again, I've mentioned this before, seeing the Empire kind of in a different light has been really interesting too. And kind of seeing their inner workings to their side of, pushing towards their goal of creating the Death Stars and taking over the galaxy and stuff like that, has been really fun. And, that was, kind of interesting seeing that one particular gentleman who is kind of like his own conclave along with Deidre and Cyril, and kind of hit like him talking to those two younger guys. I thought that was kind of an interesting little conversation too. And I don't know, I feel those two guys give off kind of like weird vibes. I don't know what's about them. I don't know if it's like a like there's something more sinister about them, or there's something they're hiding that we don't know about. But I definitely feel like there's something going on else with those guys, and there's more to them than meets the eye as we go later on in the season.
Well, the one dude is a spy for Luthen.
Okay, so well, yeah, there you go.
Oh wait, Cyber, are you talking about Lonnie and Supervisor Hirt?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
the two guys, yeah.
The two guys, okay.
Yep. There's two guys that have that conversation with the one older gentleman there, and of course Deidre. She's always she plays her character very fantastic, always, and it's great to see her whenever she pops up. But we are we going as far as the Mon Mothma scene, sir?
There was a Mon Mothma scene with the husband, and they're just talking in the car. That was like a part of it. Yeah,
that's the scene I'm thinking of. I think that scene was kind of interesting too. Once again, I think showing the development of Mon Mothma and kind of what's leading her to becoming the Mon Mothma we know. I think that every scene she's in, they always kind of tinily, bitterly, like drop little crumpets of her becoming more and more Mon Mothma. So I think that, that scene kind of showed that too, with the conversation with her and the husband. Showing kind of her thinking process, kind of her showing her kind of like ideas and so forth. So I think that was a really fun scene. So I thought it was a pretty decent beginning. It started off really well, and I enjoyed it very much.
All right, Matthew.
Yeah, I hope we never see Mon Mothma dance again, though. Fuck, give me a break. That was horrendous. Look, yeah, I really like Luthen. I think the thing that we're finding out with Luthen is just you need that guy that's willing to do the really shitty stuff in order for the rebellion to succeed. And I think Cassian is a romantic about the rebellion. He thinks he's just the spy, the cog, one of the cogs. And I think that the discussion between Cassian and Luthen, when Luthen says, stop thinking this way. You got to think like a leader. And Cassian still thinks he's a soldier. Doesn't realize the important role that he plays in this rebellion. Like, he's way bigger in this than what he even imagines he is. There's really not many levels to the rebellion, let's be honest. And Cassian's right at the fucking very top. He's the pointy end of the rebellion. But he's got to start to think more like Luthen for this to really succeed. And Luthen's the guy that's willing to sacrifice, that's willing to do everything. And he's willing, he's willing to sit in the middle of, I guess, the wolf's lair and do the stuff. Like, he's the one that is at the most danger every time of every facet. Like, everyone else is sort of an arm's length back. You know, Mothma's not even really involved yet. She is, but she's not. Obviously, that will change, but that's the dynamic I really enjoy about this season so far, and I think it only gets better as the season goes on. I think that that a question for you guys, and it's puzzled me the whole season, is that the reason that Bix is, you know, now a drug addict, depressive, is that just because of what happened? The guy attacked her and she killed him. Is that it? Is that why she's? Is there a reason for this? I've been trying to think, why is she like this? Because she was super strong, and then she was still even super strong in the wheat land, and where she got attacked. Is that the reason? Can someone answer that for me?
I think it's a combination of things for her. I've her kind of psychological torture from season 1, and what happened on Mina Rao, which you're referencing with the sexual assault. I think it's a combination of those things that she just keeps kind of getting like the worst part of the rebellion, in that she's constantly being put in these situations, and it just drugs are basically how she, or whatever it is that helps her sleep, right, is what's helping her cope with it. So I think it's a combination of those two things.
Okay, because I think it's interesting that, like, again, Luthen's willing to do the real dirty work and go behind Cassian's back to try and enlist Bix, because he knows that if he gets her into play, that's going to bring Cassian further into the game, further invested into it. So I just really like that it's not just the Empire that's playing dirty pool, that it's the rebellion that's playing dirty pool. And I think that, and if you're being serious and honest, and you look at it from just these 6 episodes, it would seem that the people running the rebellion are the baddies at this stage. We don't really know what the Empire's major play is yet. That's to come. But it seems that the guys that are doing the dirty plays are the rebels, which we're all on side with that. Not saying that we aren't, but I think that's the really cool thing about these first 6 episodes. It's like, what exactly is the Empire's play here? We know they're building the Death Star because we know that, right? But no one else knows that. So in terms of what's going on in Gorman, you don't really know what the play is there yet. And I think that's really cool. So the guys that are making, you know, Luthen is the big bad, I think, for the first 6 episodes here, because he's the guy that the rebels, as much as they need him, they're scared of him. And I think that's what's been really cool about this season. I think this episode is good because that back and forth with Cassian and him again shows that layer that, mate, you're just not thinking big enough here, and you need to lift your game, pal. I do like Mothma. I think she's excellent. I think she's a great character. I hate her husband. I hate him. He's not a samurai. Get rid of the little man bun thing. It's a terrible hairdo. Move on. You are just a handbag for the Star. So just know your role, mate. I think that, I'm really loving Luthen. I think, and so for me, this, having watched the whole season, I think that for me the whole season revolves around him. I think he is so good, and I think every episode he's doing something else that makes us question, you know, how far he's willing to go, and I think that's what's really cool. Anyway, I'm out.
All right, yeah, so there was some ISB action during that part of the episode too, most definitely. I'm glad that you mentioned that, Cyber. So, all right, back to episode 6. So we get Vel and Cinta, you know, reconciling, you know, and sort of rekindling their romance at that coffee shop, right? Basically, you know, we get like a really interesting and fun like dry run and like planning for the heist, you know, montage, right? That I thought was really well done with Val and Cinta, the heist goes off and it's successful, but one of the fighters disobeys Val's orders and brings a blaster, only to accidentally kill Cinta when a passerby interferes, devastating Val. I'll stop there. Like, before they go to Skuldrin's party, that montage before the actual heist, and then the heist itself, the death of Cinta, and I believe that during that time period is when Cassian comes. You see Cassian with Bix a little bit. I think during that period too. I think maybe they have a scene together or something like that. I'm not sure. But we'll talk about the party and Luthen and and all that in the next round of questions. Matthew, I'll go right back to you, sir.
Yeah, again, you love a spy show where there's a heist, and this is obviously. I know Cyber's not a big fan of the Vel and the Cinta thing, and I'm all in on any lesbian scene in any TV show that we can get. So, if we
when they're nude and nothing else is going on.
Look, yeah, that's a fair point, Cyber. I'll give you that one. But look, again, I mentioned it earlier that this Andor is all about the relationships. It's all about the people, right? So I think that regardless of whether they're best friends, whether they're lesbian lovers, whether they're hetero lovers, whatever they are, I think that this is all about the relationships and the people. So I think that's a really cool scene where you've got the Gorman rebels who, again, we don't really know how far they're willing to go yet. We're not really sure whether they're all in on the whole rebellion and whether they're going to be there when it's required. So I really like that meeting with Vel and Cinta, and they're like, well, okay, it's time now. You got to ante up, and you got to make the call, and you got to be all in. I thought that was really good. What else are we talking about? So I think that there, I think, is the final. I guess it's the final nail to say, well, the rebellion is bigger than the people that we're seeing. We're starting to now bring more people in. So yeah, I think it's. Yeah, I'm more excited to see what happens. We're not talking about the actual heist yet, are we?
No, we're talking about past the heist, to the heist, and all the way to the heist, like with Val's Cinta's death and everything.
Okay, yeah, cool. Okay, well then, yeah, I thought that for such a huge city and a planet that is completely a city, there's not a lot of people around where they're doing the heist, and I would have thought that there would be more. It seems to be very, very quiet while they're pulling the heist off, and it seems to be quite easy that they can get away with it. I do like that the Empire are one step ahead. They're watching, they're knowing, they're ready to pull the trigger when they need to pull the trigger. I think it was excellent that a main character dies. Well, not a main character, but a character of some emotional significance to the story. I think I quite like that. I don't think there's enough of that in any TV shows anymore. I think we need to be killing more main characters off. Last of Us season 2. Here we go. So I thought the heist was cool. I think that if we have any doubts about the Gorman rebels now, well, they're all in and it's game on. I thought the heist well planned, well executed. There's always one idiot that always ruins it. And that's all it was here. I think, we're not going to talk about the party yet, so I'll just leave it there. I think I enjoyed the heist. I thought it was good that one person dies. It was good that it's going to then add some emotional resonance as we move forward. Cool.
Okay, Andrew.
Back to Matt was talking about the streets were empty because the Empire wanted that way on purpose. They wanted them to steal the shipment. So if you remember, Cyril's there, he's giving the play-by-play to Partagaz back at headquarters. Like, they made sure that it would be easy for them to pull it off because, again, they want this to happen to further be able to point and say, look at what these guys did, right? So, like, the streets were mostly empty on purpose. And then they still had like their little sentries or guards at either end, right? That's why the guy comes over and he kind of ruins. They can't control everybody, right? So the guy comes over and ruins the whole thing. And that's when the blaster goes off. But the whole play-by-play of what happens of them. I like Cyril's kind of just watching, and he's just letting party guys know back at HQ, like, this is what's going on. And you can tell, like, he's like very eager. He's very happy to be a part of this. Like, he's definitely a company man. Do you remember? Again, I know you guys probably already talked about this, but that scene where he turns to Daedra and he's like giving like the whole thing. He's like, this is like the best day of my life, knowing he's being like being used this way by the Empire. He's all in on it. But going to what happens right with the eventual fallout of Cinta's death, and we have that really great kind of little monologue slash kind of like a scowl that Vale gives the guy who shot her, right? And she goes on this diatribe about like you don't need to say anything like you're gonna carry this, right? She says you're gonna wear this like skin. It's a really good line, and saying like how like you're like in like you don't know like all the things she did, and of course they don't know about the Aldani heist, they don't know about all the stuff that Cinta had been involved in, and like he's basically just a nothing, and now he's gonna have to basically spend the rest of his life to make up for her loss, to like not let her death be wasteful. And I felt like some people were saying like how the way she went out was very anticlimactic, and I think it kind of is, but I think it's that way on purpose because it's way more tragic that way for her to die in a situation where no one should have died, and it still happened, and it just kind of went off. And the fact that it wasn't like purposeful, it wasn't like in a crossfire situation with the Empire or whatever. She just died like a very cheap death, but it's not cheap in like the delivery. I think we're meant to feel like it's like something tragic, and that kind of stuff does happen. Like there's friendly fire, there's because people, they're not disciplined. Going back again to what Cassian was saying, how these people are not disciplined, and we see the results of that, of Luthen pushing the envelope anyways, even though they're not ready, right? And so we see how there's casualties from just disorder, not even necessarily from the enemy. So I love the whole spiel she goes on when they're evacuating, they're taking her body, and she's just really laying it thick on this guy. She's just making him like he's like crying, and she just keeps lecturing him, and it's a really great scene. I really love that. Jeff, is this a part where we see now Benjamin Bratt is now
No,
no, not yet. Okay, I'm trying to remember. It's been a while.
I don't think so. No.
Where he meets Mon Mothma outside in the streets though, for the first time as Bail Organa though.
I didn't see that.
It's not this part. Okay, I'm bad.
If that happened in episode 6, I didn't notice it.
Okay, because this is like where the parties are going on, right? Where they do the. I'm pretty sure.
I didn't see him in this episode.
Okay, maybe I'm getting my episodes mixed up then.
You think you are? Yeah, I don't remember Bail Organa or whatever being in this episode. Did you have anything else that you wanted to say, Andrew, about that portion of the episode, sir?
No. I mean, no. That's pretty much the major thing I'm trying to remember here that happens. Other than because the whole Lonnie and Clea stuff happens after this, if I remember. It's not during this part. Okay.
It does. All right, Cyber.
All right. So, as I was saying before, like I said, this episode was kind of disappointing. When they brought in that whole relationship, but then they kill her, one of them off. I was freaking ecstatic. I was like, "This is awesome." I'm like, "Yes." She'll just be one of the other ones. Will just be pouting the whole time and being judgmental. This is great. That scene where she's like laying into that kid, I'm like cracking up going, I'm like, seriously? Like, really? Like, he really meant to kill her? Like, come on. Like, first off, I feel in that sequence, now, everyone else could have had a different view of this. I swear to God, I did not see her anywhere near that where that blaster was when they were fighting. I'm like, how the hell did she get hit? I don't get this. So,
magic bullet.
Exactly. I'm like, and she's dead. I'm like, I don't think it was the laser that killed her. I think she died some other way, I think. And so I looked at myself like, still, this is great. Kill it off a character. I'm like, this is awesome. I'm like, I love it. But, the whole heist itself, it wasn't shabby. It wasn't horrible. I thought that the scene in the first season was a little tad bit better, but this one was okay. It wasn't as extravagant. I felt there wasn't as much preparation to it as in the first season, so I think that they could have done that a little bit more, and it would have made the episode a little more interesting. But overall, the heist was okay. It was pretty visually beautiful, very cool looking. All that stuff, the boxes, the ships themselves that they're taking the stuff from. I thought that was really cool, and I thought that looked really good. But then that one guy that comes up and causes the blast failure, I was like cracking up at this guy. I was like, dude, what the hell is your problem? Why are you like walking down and thinking this is your street? I'm like, what the hell is wrong with this dude? And like getting in the conversation with the kid, and I'm just like, what? This dude's a dickhead. I'm like, come on. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, so like, it's kind of twofold. If the blast did kill Sitta, it's not really the kid's fault. Yes, he brought a blaster, but you can't be careful. I mean, look what just happened. We had this asshole coming out of nowhere, and he's causing this trouble. So you needed it. So but anyways, still that death was fantastic. Brought the episode back for me. Made it absolutely great, and I think that overall decent sequence by the end.
Okay, so at Skuldrin's investiture party, Krennic and Mothma debate the ethics of war, while Clea manages to extract the bug using Jung as a distraction. Bix breaks into Gorst's new office and uses his own torture device on him before leaving with Cassian, who remotely blows up the facility. So, obviously a lot goes on at that party, isn't talked about in that description. The removal of the bug is like, pretty hardcore. Because Clea actually is like, hurts herself, doing it, like physically, like hurts herself. You know what I mean? Although she doesn't seem all that hurt at the end of the party when her and Luther walk out and they're like laughing and smiling and everything, she seems fine. You know what I mean? I was expecting it to be worse, but that's the end of the episode, right? So it's a real, the whole thing with Bix and like, going back and getting her revenge, I felt like came out of nowhere almost, right? But Cyber, I'll go back to you, sir, first. What are your thoughts, sir, on that ending, that whole swath of episode that I just dropped out there, sir?
This definitely was my favorite part of the episode. You had Ben Mendelsohn come back. You had this great kind of like heist of trying to get that recording device out. And the actress that is playing the assistant of Luthen, she is absolutely fantastic. Love her. I think she's a really good actress and she's really awesome.
It was her first official role.
That's impressive. That is very impressive.
She's great the whole season. She's excellent.
So I think that she does a great job portraying that. And I love her trying to get that other soldier guy, that other Empire guy to help her out as she's trying to get this listening device out at that one particular statue. And I think that this whole sequence is cool too, because you see all these kind of cool, like almost like, like if you're going to like an Aztec museum or to like something like a Mayans museum or something like that, that is like, of ancient tales. And I thought that was so cool. And the whole conversation along with Mon Mothma there and Ben Mendelsohn's character and everything like that, which is so well written and so fun there. And I just really enjoyed the kind of the back and forth that they were talking about. And especially when they're finally over by them at that particular statue and she's trying to like finish it off, and like, they pop up and they're like talking to somebody. They're trying to like play off like nothing's happening and stuff like that. I thought it was really well orchestrated and well done. And I love the looks that Luthen keeps giving. Like he keeps glancing over going, you getting it? You're getting it? And stuff like that was really done well. And Stellan Skarsgård, he has been so phenomenal in this series, even the first season, this season. He's just an overall, he's a great actor, and I always enjoy watching him in things. And I think he was a perfect choice for Luthen. And I believe I mentioned that in our first season recording when we did the live streams. I can't remember 100%, but I stand down my ground that he has absolutely been fantastic and I've enjoyed him very much. So I think this whole ending sequence is really awesome. I love how it ends. I think it's a really great way to end the episode and a great way to end it before we jump another year. And I think that overall it's progressing very well. And even with the minor parts that I just did not enjoy in this episode, this ending, that heist, the killing, the death of Cinta just really put it over the top, made it a really great episode. So I think it's a really superb ending.
That actress's name is Elizabeth Dula. It's the best I can pronounce it. Cyber. That is her name. Andrew, go ahead, sir.
I mean, Cyber kind of just said everything, but just picking back off of what he was talking about. I love that scene where Mon Mothma and Perrin, her husband, come in and they just immediately run into Krennic and his other ISB lackeys in the background, and like the just the passive aggressiveness of the entire exchange between them, with her saying like, oh, like it's nice to see you like outside of the witness stand, she said. Like outside of like of official imperial proceedings, right? Like we obviously get the feeling that they are on completely opposite sides politically, and just seeing them interact, we have a very tense exchange, and we have all these players, all these characters in the same room together of the opposition. You have Krennic, you have Luthen there off to the side of Mon Mothma, and just knowing where Krennic is going to ultimately end up if you've seen Rogue One, where Mon Mothma ultimately ends up if you've seen Rogue One, and just having this passive aggressive yet civil exchange between them, where they go on talking about as they're examining the art pieces, going over the history of the art pieces. And Krennic talks about how, like, oh, in the academy, we learned about the fate. He's thinking from a militarily, like, strategic point, referring to these stories, right? And Mon Mothma is kind of coming at him from a different angle, which talking about in terms of, like, freedom and politicalness. And I love the exchange where he talks, says something about along the lines of, like, oh, like, well, you're a terrorist, or you're a freedom fighter is my terrorist, or the other way. I forgot which one exactly it is, but, like, just seeing, like, after where throughout the whole season where these characters have been. If you remember Krennic in the beginning, with his snowy mountain retreat, planning the Gorman massacre eventually in the future, and then where we see Mon Mothma trying to like court favors and stuff, or trying to get certain legislation done for the Gormans in the last, I think earlier in this arc, I think in the first episode 4 or 5, I'm trying to remember, but just seeing that exchange between them as they view things differently, and they kind of clash, and the people around them kind of, I don't know if they're understanding what's taking place between them, or if they're kind of just think it's like very like just like civil talk. And then in the background you have Clea and Lonnie, and she's just trying to like, again, trying to get this listening device from this like really, what we find out later on is like a really cool sculpture from this planet where a sight isn't like a thing, right? Like, where if you're blind, it's like a gift or something. I love like the subtext, the extra lore they add to Star Wars. I love it. But just the like going back and forth, and they get closer, right? She takes off the device, she pulls off the listening device in time. Lonnie has to like kind of like adjust himself to cover up what she's doing. I just love how it's a very, very tense scene. I mean, obviously, these people are, they get out of the situation, but like the whole time it's just like that tension. And Gilroy is so good at making like these very tense scenes, as we're going to see later throughout the season. And just as they finally get there, and I love that, again, Krennic throwing more kind of subtle shade. He talks about he's like feeling along the edges, right? This monument that you're not meant to see, you're supposed to feel it, and the feelings, or like the texture, is what tells the story of the monument. And he says about like, oh, like blindness is a gift, is a gift or something. It's like, oh, I think we all know somebody like that, and kind of, it's just very good witty banter between them, and it's just a great scene.
Okay, Matthew, more to watch.
Yeah, look, Ben Mendelsohn as Krennic is so underutilized in the Star Wars universe. Like, he is a really vile villain and a really smart villain. And I think every time he's on the screen, everything is super elevated. So what Tony Gilroy's been able to do with tension, with a story that we already know the answer to, yet we're still fully invested with what's going on. We know they're going to find the listening device. We know how it all ends. Like, we've seen Rogue One, we've seen Star Wars. We know that everyone effectively that's involved is probably going to die. We know all these answers, but for some reason you're watching this party and you're panicking that they're not going to get the listening device, and holy shit, what happens if they don't? where we know that they do. He builds in some form of amnesia into the viewer so that we're fully invested with what's happening. And I just think that party scene is so good. I think every time Mendelsohn's on the screen and he's so smarmy, he's so arrogant, he's so super self-confident that he, and this is the Empire, right? They didn't think they could lose. They thought they were unbeatable. And it's that arrogance that really makes the the scenes with, and the scenes with Mothma, and then you've also got Luthen, who is sort of like a rebellion's version of Krennic in terms of arrogance, but he's starting to fray a bit at the seams as well, Luthen, where it's like, well, shit, is this going to work? Can we do this? But it's just, I thought that scene especially was excellent. You guys have covered it all, but just again, as an Aussie, watching Ben Mendelsohn up there just destroying it every time he's on screen, he's unbelievable. I think then you go to, revenge is a dish best served cold with Bix and Cassian. Well, you don't know that it's really with Cassian, but with Bix getting revenge on Gorst, and then it's quite funny that the ending where you've got Claire and Luthen walking off, having one smiling, hopping in their car, and then you cut again, and it's the same thing with Bix walking solo. Cassian joins them, and then the big explosion. And he's just like, "Fucking how good's that?" Like a really good ending, Cyber. And I tend to agree. Like it probably was one of the slower episodes initially, but it really what they've managed to do almost with every episode is build to some form of crescendo that leaves you going, shit, what's next? And the fact that what you've already mentioned at Cyber, that there was a year in between the end of this episode and the start of the next episode, it needed to end somewhere where it was like, oh, okay, cool. What happens next? Yeah, a really cool ending. I agree. Awesome. Go,
give
Krennic.
me a rating, Matthew. Give me a rating for the episode.
I really liked the episode. I really did. I give it 8.5. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good episode.
Cyber,
I like a bit of
rating?
I give it 8. It gets 0.5 for the lesbian scene. Yeah. It would have been a 9 if they were nude.
It would have been 10 if they were nude. I give this episode a 6. Simply for the fact, as I mentioned earlier. Thank you very much. Yeah, so I give it a 6. As I mentioned before, it just that those two particular sequences just felt so out of place and not needed to be in the episode. Simply for the fact that it definitely was partial filler episode, along with being kind of the conclusion of this second arc of episodes. And just I felt that I have to give it a 6 just because it went downhill so bad, but it brought it back up, because initially I was almost gave it a 0 because I got so pissed at that. So I gave it a 6. I went up, Matt, Mr. Bored to Watch. So I went up. Anyways, still very solid ending though. That was definitely the ending I would give a 10 to. But yeah, 6. I give it all around a 6.
Okay. Andrew, give me your rating, sir.
I'm right there with Matt. More 8.5. I can't believe you would get almost a 0, Cyber. Like there's so much good dialogue in this. And then getting back to what Jeff mentioned earlier about feeling like the Gorse thing kind of came out of nowhere. We had the scene where Major Partagas is talking to Lonnie and he tells them like they want to expand like that torture program basically. And we know Lonnie is, the mole for Luthen. So him passing on, it's assumed that he passes on the information to Luthen, who then passes it on to Bix, so that Bix can go exact her revenge. So I thought that was like the clear follow through how that happened. But yeah, I agree. I'm with Matt. It's an 8.5 for me. I think there's great dialogue, great scenes. I loved it. I thought, especially coming off the prior 2 episodes before this, where I felt was very, very slow. In contrast, this was kind of like a nice, wrap, tying up the bow on the end kind of thing.
I think having seen the whole season, I think this is the start of it really starting to pick up. And for me, I was a bit, why is everyone raving about Andor season 2? And I think 7 to 12 are unbelievable.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like not giving anything away, but it just picks up. This was the episode. It's like the foreplay. It's like a lesbian scene with clothes on, Cyber.
Let's not forget, Matt, this is I think 7 to 12 is the run, the IMDb run of the no episode going lower than 9.5. So that's right. Like the 5 episode run right there is 7 to 12.
Yeah.
So
And it is so good. So yeah. It's almost like it's a fully naked lesbian scene.
There you go. Yeah. That is our Andor episode 6 recap. I can't do plugs tonight, guys, because I'm on my cell phone. So shout out to our individual creators here on the show tonight on the panel. Born to Watch and Matthew, follow Born to Watch. Good guys over there. Movie reviews up your asshole. And Cyberneticshark on multiple platforms. Content creator, individual content creator. Yeah. Lesbian content on Cyberneticshark's channel on YouTube without question. And Andrew is a good friend of the MCU'S Bleeding Edge. We're happy to see you, Andrew. We're out of here, folks. For the panel, for myself, Jeff S. aka TrueKnowledge, we're out. Peace. We'll see you later.